Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. It is December 31st, 2016, and before everybody goes out, gets drunk, gets plastered, or whatever it is, however you're going to bring in the new year, I want to focus in on really the importance of having a vision for yourself, your life, your relationships, and moving forward, and essentially, in keeping with the theme of this channel, and how to detox from a narcissist, a psychopath, a toxic individual, a borderline from your life, who's created a lot of hectic, toxicity, chaos, conflict consciousness, aggression, obsession, compulsion, a lot of uncomfortable feelings that aren't resulting in you getting what you want, being where you want in your life. And really, how do you resolve this? How do you let go of them? How do you move on? How do you make the best of the situation? How do you alchemize what has transpired to become really a catapult and a catalyst into your future? We'll realize that the first tool to detoxing from a narcissist or a psychopath is awareness. It's awareness that something is not right. It is the awareness that something is off. It's awareness that this individual is not who you thought they were, who you thought they might be, or who you thought they might be for you, or who they might become in terms of a merging or a fulfillment of a relationship with you. So it's not so much that somebody dropped the ball, that they let you down, that they disappointed you. It is more the discovery that this person inherently and intrinsically, physiologically, is lacking in specific qualities or certain mental hardware, if you will, to actually giving you what you want. And until you can really understand that and come to grips with it and get a handle on it, you're going to forever remain stuck and remain a victim and remain manipulated, abused, and controlled by this individual. And as I've looked into really the dynamics of this, and really almost an emotional sadomasochist, starve and binge sort of cycle that this creates, realize that if you are caught up in this cycle of sadomasochistic or pain, this pain feels familiar to you because of your childhood upbringing in a relationship that is destructive. In other words, it's going to only have a specific amount of shelf life in your, where you're going to be right now. It's only meant to be there for a season, if you will, in your life. Then it is realizing that, understanding that perhaps because of your, part of the awareness also arrives out of the understanding that because perhaps of your trauma in your past, that this type of relationship is what feels right to you. It's what feels familial. It is what feels familiar. And so if you see the connection between family and familiar, it is because the family is, you have a familiarity. You have a common connection there. And so oftentimes unconsciously people are attracted to violators and perpetrators in their life, even though they might not look like a violator or perpetrator. Someone who's going to take advantage of you, exploit you physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. This is perhaps what you are attracted to because this is what makes you feel alive. This is what makes you tick. You are used to being in this role. As I've likened it to in the past, for example, if you have trained as a secretary, you are always going to seek secretary jobs. If you have trained as an astrophysicist, you are going to seek astrophysicist jobs. If your training in your family of origin has programmed you and conditioned you to become a victim, to be a scapegoat, to be an underdog, to be abused, or to feel that punishment and pain equals love, you've received the wrong messages. You have received the wrong training. So it's important to fire the narcissist of origin in your life, to say, out of here, you're no longer the boss. You might have been the boss. You might have been, the cowboy in town before, in such and such a decade, or for decades, there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new kid on the block, and that kid is me. And I now am in charge of programming and conditioning and controlling what feels beneficial and right to me. I'm no longer living out of the blueprint of the past, the violators and perpetrators, the role that they set up for me, the blueprint that they wrote for my life, them instilling me to be, walk a certain path that this will only be the path that I'm on, seeking to be, the company of others who tend to look down on me the way that my mother looked down on me. They tend to be aloof to me the way that my father was aloof to me. To be narcissistic, borderline, or psychopathic like the parents used to be. So if you can really begin to look back and perhaps use this day as a day of reflection, as which oftentimes people do, and realize and learn to identify patterns in your life, and realize that you have been conditioned to follow along these blueprints to the people, to the skills which you develop, to your talents, towards your interests, because oftentimes of your upbringing. And unbeknownst to us, we're playing out those roles with which we were raised in. And so it is time to fire the narcissist. It is time to let them go. Letting them go is emotional. It's not physical. It's just realizing that they are a separate entity. They are a separate force. They were acting out of their own injury and pain and their own shortcomings. But because of their parent status in our life, or the spouse relationship in our life, we had over-idealized them. We'd put them up here, up here, we had idealized them. In other words, to idealize, which means to look up to them, to think that they're perfect, to not see any sort of fault, shortcoming, or reality with them, to idealize them. However, with time, it is time to get real. It is time to get the self-realized aspect of them and realize that they are people with shortcomings that had certain perhaps character flaws in their personality, which they then shoved onto you, projected onto you, caused mayhem, emotional pain, emotional scars in your life. And you have instilled that, you have ingested that, you have incorporated that as a blueprint for who you are, because they mirrored these wrong messages to you. And so you were essentially like a sponge, and you became that which they had projected you or raised you to be. Well, it's okay now to fire the narcissist and say, you're no longer in charge of me. You're no longer running how I feel about myself. You're no longer running about what I feel attracted to in my life. You're no longer affecting the values in my life. I am now creating and founding and relying on myself for my own set of values, and I'm living on my values, and I'm acting from those values now. For example, I value treating people with respect. I think it's important to show people respect, no matter their age, no matter their country of origin, no matter their workplace, their career. I value and I feel that people deserve to be treated with respect. Until they hurt me or until they violate me, that is my value. Oftentimes, the narcissist or psychopath does not have this as a value. And so, you were by proxy, you were, by osmosis, which means, to pass through. By osmosis, by being around them, you had absorbed their toxicity into your being, into the incorporeal side, the spirit side, the psychological side, the belief side, the physical side. Because remember, the body, mind, and spirit is connected, and that which we are around, it soaks into the subconscious mind, which is responsible for over 95% of our physical activities. So much of our beliefs about ourselves, belief about others, our feelings, emotions, and therefore our behaviors stemming from those experiences are still running our life. It is what we call being programmed or conditioned by our past. So it is important to prune or cut away the past by letting go of this old program, this old programmer, this old condition, this old conditioner, the old boss of us, if you will, and letting them go and realizing first the awareness that they were acting out of narcissistic, psychopathic methods of control and manipulation, and they do this by making others feel inferior, by feeling less than, by scapegoating. They do this by splitting, by triangulating, by talking about people behind their back, by bringing in other people into the relationship dynamic that don't even belong there. And then here they come with trying to make you pathologically jealous, insecure, feeling paranoid, feeling like, oh my God, what is going on now? I'm about to lose a significant person in my life. All that I've invested in you is now being thrown out the window, and now I'm feeling, like I'm kicking myself because I was just made a fool of. I made an error of judgment by trusting you. And I think that is one lesson, once you've learned that once you have been deceived by this type of individual, you'll begin to really be able to see them coming. You'll be able to understand who these are, and that they are, in essence, the same type of person, but in different shoes. And so you will no longer ever want to be associated with this type of person again. And previously, your role was to be like supportive of those who hurt you. I'm loving of those people who abuse me. I have to be loving, kind, and compassionate to those people who insult me. So you just go into this, this cycle of basically, embracing those people who are your violators. It's part of the Stockholm syndrome, identifying with your captors. It's like, you really do not have another choice. You then begin to embrace the people who hurt you. You are then, you're as a young child, as a youngster, and then as a teenager and as a young adult, you are programmed, you are conditioned to love the people who abuse you. And so then you tend to, continue to perpetuate that cycle and attract and love the people who abuse you. In fact, people tend to invite this into their life. And there comes a point when you say, enough is enough. I no longer wish to be abused, scolded, downtrodden, walked over, violated, perpetrated, meant to feel fearful, scared, terror, brainwashed, gaslighted, triangulated, split, and all the other mind games that are going that keep your relationship up here rather than in here. Heart area, and solar plexus. Solar plexus, which is the energy center of self-esteem, which comes right underneath the rib cage, which is your gut. Remember, we've got the vagus nerve that runs down the back of the spine around the hip, which is your gut feeling. And there comes a time in your gut when you say, no more, enough is enough. I refuse to be talked to this way. I refuse to be treated in this manner through behaviors, through having things having things hurled at me, thrown at me, doors slammed, etc. That I am now declaring a boundary. I'm saying enough is enough. That is what we call rock bottom, or making a commitment, making a decision, and saying enough. It is done. Even if it's my flesh and blood, even if it's this person, I do not deserve that. I am a wonderful, giving, caring human being. You don't see that. You are not able to see that because the narcissist and a psychopathic individual is not able to really have empathy, which is the ability to feel, need, and sense and reflect and reciprocate and mirror back the feelings, needs, wishes of another. So they are not able to. So it is knowing that if you stay in abusive relationships, you eventually have to be accountable for yourself. You are the one who has to take yourself to the doctor. You are the one who has to take yourself to the dentist. You are the one who has to be accountable and responsible for your work life. You are the one who has to be responsible and accountable for your lifestyle and your adventures, your activities, pursuing your interests. And to be wounded, to going into all these enterprises of your life in a wounded manner is no longer acceptable. So then you declare your boundaries and saying enough is enough, and then enforcing your boundaries through the ability of saying no and through going no contact and saying, I now understand how this has been set up in my life, and I'm now living by a new blueprint where I'm now accepting and seeking and attracting to my life other people who operate by my values, which are to respect, love, have compassion, support, forgiveness, understanding, education, fun, excitement, love of nature, embracing of art, the music, the fine arts of painting, whatever it is that you're interested in. Aquarian, maybe you are into an equestrian, horseback riding. Maybe you're into sailing, fishing. There's lots of other things to become involved with the people who are no longer operating out of that toxic energy dimension. So when you become that, when you reach that commitment, the I am done. I am beginning a new life. I'm beginning a new year that is based in prosperity, that is based in abundance, that is based in valuing of humankind, and furthermore that I'm doing all that I can to contribute to the betterment of human values and helping release all the old programming that has kept me separate from that which I desire, or kept me separate from the relationships which I desire, or alienated or isolated or lonely from, that I'm now erasing those toxic ties, and I'm now reaching out and coming from the space of self-acceptance and self-preservation, but furthermore being more selective in who I find and I am attracted to, and I'm able to identify that if I'm finding myself over obligating or giving too much to others or caregiving to others who cannot reciprocate, I now know to stop. And I now have the discipline over myself to stop engaging in relationships that are going to be negative, toxic, risky, dangerous, and result in unhappiness, emptiness, and basically regressive in nature. And remember that live backwards is evil. So, you don't want to go backwards, you want to go forwards. And forwards, I'm going to be discussing some of the, I had a viewer request information about the recovery journal that we discuss here in the various parts of the content of that book, and also how important it is to have a vision for yourself and your goals moving forward, and to have those in your environment so that they speak to you on a daily basis, because those are the things that are going to program and condition your subconscious mind towards actually fulfilling those for your future. So being excited for life, being excited to meet other kinds of people, and learning to identify when I'm around people who will take advantage, people who will bring me down, people who are toxic in nature, obtaining the wisdom to know better, and being able to furthermore delegate my time and attention where it's deserved and not where it's needed or demanded by those types of individuals who take advantage. And also to detox, it's very important to have a vision of really what it means and what it looks like for you to have, where you want to be and have the type of relationships that you want. And absolutely positively purging and cleansing the toxic people from your life is a must. It's not a maybe, it is a must. If you are interested, then you're interested. If you're committed, then you're committed. If you're curious about what life is like without a psychopath or a narcissist, you will remain curious. If you are serious about developing your life and moving on in your life without the narcissist or the psychopath, then many forces will join with you to help you in this community of people. It's an exclusive community of people who understand what it is to have survived beyond this type of abuse, not only in your family of origin, not only in your with your spouse or friends, but in all sorts of other environments, and to furthermore seek groups that are more in tune, more in alignment with your body, mind, and spirit, your values, and opening those up. And that's what we go through in our recovery journal, is how to open up those, how to uncover those, how to really kind of break through the shell of the old you and help discover and open up the new you, which is the really exciting and wonderful part, where you're really able to experience really a profound and long-lasting spiritual and personal growth that will be there to protect you in the days now and moving forward. And also, like in the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, so you're conditioned by your vision of your future versus being conditioned by your abuse of the past. Because it is the power of the brain, the neuroplasticity, to rewire itself that you want to tap into, that quantum field of energy that is healing, that is providing the people, the resources, the words, helping you open up and become the person that you were meant to be, not the victim that the abuser had meant you to be. So it's two very separate types of people. You've got the victim, who your abuser wants you to be, who's always going to keep you down there. They're not ever going to change the role. To the actual reality of who you were meant to be in its full blossom and its full glory. And it's not just about, becoming arrogant. It's really about becoming closer in tune with life and really experiencing the profound and the state of awe, the miracles that life has in store for you once you get a chance to open up and explore and reach out and expand into those areas. So detoxing is very important. By getting rid of these people in your life, it is okay to say no. It is okay to say no without feeling guilty. It is okay to say no and still feel the fear, but not to be controlled by the fear, obligation, and guilt that these people will try to keep you hooked in on in order to keep you as a supply in their life. So you have to ask yourself the hard questions. Am I ready to start being my own person? Am I going to man up? Am I going to woman up? Am I going to cowboy up? Am I going to cowgirl up? Or am I going to supply up? Am I going to be supply to somebody? And am I going to be somebody's scapegoat? Am I going to be somebody's kicking bag? Am I going to be, somebody's, in essence, their groupie? Am I going to just be their support? Am I just going to be nutrient for their soul? Am I going to allow myself to just be the victim of a psychological vampire? If this is what it is, then I have the right to say no. It is an indelible right to say no. You have to get used to saying the word no. Practice with me now. No, I no longer wish to be a victim. I no longer wish to be a supply. I no longer wish to be fodder for someone else's life and not my own. So you have to practice saying no. You have to practice in enforcing your boundaries and realize that it's okay to stop getting hoovered into these individuals, but furthermore, that you can embrace your I am, which is your own personal strength that you're going to get in touch with, which is transmuting it perhaps from the anger that you felt at being abused or the helplessness, and then transforming that, metamorphosizing that into a personal strength where you get in touch with the I. We develop more of this in the Recovery Journal. I'm going to be doing upcoming videos on all the sections on that. I do have other videos here. However, I've had a number of viewer requests who have asked me about that, and I will try to here soon to do a series of videos on those specifics so you can really get it down and have a positive vision of yourself moving forward for the new year and for your future now and forever moving forward. Peace and harmony with you here today. Remember, rid your life of the toxic individual. Not a speck of them must be around. Nothing that they have given you, nothing that they have caused you to pursue them on social media. Just stop engaging with them. Stop the toxic effects in your life. You have to go no contact, and you have to strengthen yourself, and furthermore get in touch with and expand really on and develop the lesson, the knowledge of this disorder, and also really get in touch more so with how to come out of the other side of that and realize that there's realize the tremendous lesson that this relationship brought to you. And we're going to work on future videos how to plug into that lesson, how to live profoundly moving forward from that lesson so that they will never ever be able to have that negative impact on you again, so that you will never falter, you won't have your feelings hurt, you won't feel weakened by them, because your own messages of strength will overpower their messages of weakness. Peace and harmony with you here today. Detox from the narcissist and the psychopath. And have a wonderful joyous and blessed and healthy, happy New Year 2017. Love you.